Hello and welcome to The Morning Bean, a show not about coffee. Instead, we enjoy our coffee while discussing current events. I'm your host, Denny London, and today's episode is called A Tweet and a Truth. Before we jump to the downfall of society and possibly the next pandemic, please consider giving the show a follow and a 5-star review. It really helps those crazy robot algorithms. Algorithms. Primary season is upon us and has been nothing short of electric. On today's show, we are going to talk about my very first experience as a precinct election official. The short version, it was interesting. Stay tuned for a breakdown of the 15-hour day, how elections work behind the scenes, and some of the issues that come about. We'll also discuss Biden's latest executive order and how it may throw us into a hot civil war. As always, we'll have a You Probably Shouldn't Have Tweeted It and the TV ratings, but first, 3 quick ones. Our first quick one, the Washington Post reports, analysis. For Kari Lake, it was a blowout win, or maybe it was suspicious. Arizona Republicans on Tuesday nominated venture capitalist Blake Masters to be their candidate to oppose Senator Mark Kelly in November. They also elected Secretary of State and Attorney General nominees who, like Masters, have been backed by former President Donald Trump. The slate was set. Well, almost. The party's nomination for governor is still unclear. At the moment, former television newscaster Kari Lake leads attorney Karen Taylor Robinson by a little over 11,000 votes, with an uncertain number still to count. This is the nature of elections these days. Of course, ballots cast before Election Day in a number of states are tallied slowly, even as day of ballots might themselves come trickling in. Lake now faces this typical uncertainty carries with it some irony. Few candidates for office this year have been as energetic as Lake in mirroring and amplifying Trump's false claims about widespread election fraud and broken electoral systems, yet here she is, subject to the same process that Trump endured in 2020. Dear Wapo, that is not the nature of elections these days, nor should it be considered the norm. There's no reason, absolutely no foreseeable reason, why it should take a week to find out the results of an election that happened on one day. The year is 2022, and we live in a world run by big data, except I guess when it comes to election, which as the article stated, Kari is very passionate about, and I don't blame her. If our government would have given a fair look into the 2020 election, then it would have given the American people confidence that the 81 million people voted for a senile old man in the basement. She did say even if she does win, which it looks like she's going to, that she is going to help fix these election issues. Now, you can't bring up Miss Lake without listening to how she treats the fake news. Mwah, I love it. That was like a chef's kiss. Take a listen.
Hi.
Kari.
Hi.
Nice to see you. Count off and CNN.
You don't have a mask on anymore. What's going
we're
on?
outside. Do you have a minute
Wow.
to
Well, we're
chat?
6 feet apart.
Do you have a minute to chat?
I'll do an interview.
Okay.
As long as it airs on CNN Plus. Does that still exist? I didn't think so because the people don't like what you guys are peddling, which is propaganda. Thank you.
I wish that every single candidate treated the fake news like this. Wonderfully done, Kari Lake. At the moment, she has 46.2% of the votes, and Karen Taylor Robinson has 44.4%. 80% reported with 20% to go. And with that 20%, we have to be honest, anything could happen. I just hope that the spunky Kari Lake comes out on top. Our second quick one. Apple News has officially removed the war in Ukraine from their special coverage section, which feels odd. I mean, last time I checked, there was still a war going on and Putin was still viciously attacking the planet's democracy. Perhaps the truth is about to come out. The truth about the existing corruption in Ukraine. They aren't called the world's laundry basket for nothing. Laundry being the synonym for laundering in this case. The truth in the fact that they hate gay people in Ukraine. The fact that there are a bunch of Nazis such as the Azov Regiment, aka the Ukrainian National Guard, fighting this war. And as Americans, they support it. You see all the Ukrainian flags on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, wherever you look. If you don't support Ukraine, you ain't all right. Can they no longer hide these facts? Or has my disdain for Ukraine finally started spreading like the monkeypox at a gay pride event? The truth always wins, and only time will tell. Our final quick one is the coffee calling the kettle black. It may surprise you to hear this, but MSNBC is pissed over Ron DeSantis blocking legacy media, aka the fake news, from attending his events. It's unfair, they say. Censorship is bad, okay? They report, opinion, Ron DeSantis' blocking of legacy media coverage is dangerous for democracy. Like everything with the left, democracy is fluid, and the word can be used however they please. However, they can use it to punish their opposition, similar to their view on gender, racism, and vaccines. Fluid, people. Zishan Alim writes, the GOP often describes itself as at war with the mainstream media. Now it looks like some Republicans are going one step further and shutting out the full media from GOP events altogether. It's yet another blow to the increasingly beleaguered notion that citizens across the political spectrum can occupy a shared reality. Beleaguered means a difficult situation, and yes, I looked it up prior to recording this because not all of us attended the University of Oxford and George Washington University, the highest and wokest of education. Zishan Alim did. For the first time in the 7-year history of the annual Sunshine Summit in Florida, the conference restricted media access to the event last weekend. According to Politico, it specifically blocked mainstream media outlets based on rationale that they're contingently anti-conservative. We in the state of Florida are not going to allow legacy media outlets to be involved in our primaries, DeSantis said in his opening remarks. I'm not going to have a bunch of left-wing media people asking our candidates gotcha questions, which honestly, it's pretty fair. The point of these primaries is so that the Republicans and the Democrats can pick one candidate to represent their party. If you're a left-leaning news outlet, you don't really need to be asking these questions because the people that watch you aren't going to vote for these people in primaries. I honestly don't know how these leftists sleep at night. Occupied a shared reality? MSNBC is one of the most biased outlets in America. They still lie and say to this very day, Thursday, August 4th, 2022, that Russian collusion was real in 2016 and Trump attempted to overthrow the government on January 6th. Speaking of shared realities, on to our first story. I present to you a tweet and a truth. Not to be confused with you probably should tweet it. That'll be later in the show. Stay tuned. Joseph, are you done being a tyrant? Yet Biden continues to roll through executive orders and with an iron fist. Let's take a listen to his latest. Today's executive order builds on the first executive order that I signed last month to safeguard access to health care, including abortion care, that was ripped away. I told you I wouldn't back down. That hasn't changed. President Biden's newest executive order on reproductive health care will support patients traveling out of state for abortion care or other medical care, ensure healthcare providers comply with federal non-discrimination law. That one's interesting. Promote research and data collection on maternal health outcomes. Actually, Mr. Biden, you're supposed to back down. The U.S. Supreme Court has held that all executive orders from the President of the United States of America must be supported by the Constitution, whether from a clause granting specific power or by Congress delegating such to the executive branch. So now we've got ourselves a little pickle, huh? A vicious cycle, some may say. The Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade because they stated it was unconstitutional and that the powers belonged to the states. Biden then signed this executive order, which promotes birthing persons, aka women, in states where abortion is illegal to cross state lines to get one, which in return breaks their own state law. A state may choose to outlaw abortion for a number of reasons, one being because they consider it murder. This situation reminds me of a small one that happened back in the 1800s, the dark days when slaves were considered property. The Fugitive Act of 1850 specifically stated that a slave did not become free by entering a free state. In contrast, a person cannot legally get an abortion if they're from a state that it's illegal. Surprisingly accurately, according to Wikipedia, the act was one of the most controversial elements of the 1850 Compromise and heightened Northern fears of a slave power conspiracy. It required that all escaped slaves, upon capture, be returned to the slaver, and that officials and citizens of free states had to cooperate. Abolitionists nicknamed it the Bloodhound Bill, after the dogs that were used to track down people fleeing from slavery. A bloodhound is kind of like a basset hound, right? That's what this show's named after. Keep in mind that back then, not everyone owned slaves. So this probably wasn't a dinner table issue, similar to how abortion isn't really a dinner table issue now. They've done polls, and obviously people care more about the economy and inflation than abortion. Fast forward to 2022, the year of our Lord. We're once again a divided nation with two different ideologies. Abortion may not be, as I said, the average American's top concern, but this isn't about your average person. It's about the extreme left and the extreme right. After all, those who are most extreme have the loudest voices. The extreme left wants abortions all the way up to and even after birth, like in California. The extreme right wants no abortions whatsoever for any reason, even for rape and incest. Now, I'm not going to go over being pro-choice or pro-life. That's not what this segment is about. The point is that the President of the United States is attempting to overthrow state powers with his pen, and the judicial branch. The potential result of this is going to be state-on-state retaliation. What happens when a state allows a woman to get an abortion when it's not legal for them to get one in their home state? Will the states sue each other? Will states occupy abortion clinics and ID the patients to make sure that it's legal for them to get one? What happens when it reaches the Supreme Court? These are all questions that come to mind when I really think about this situation. Biden should have just left it alone. Since he came to office in 2020, he's done nothing but divide America even more and attempt things that were deemed unconstitutional. Please see the COVID-19 vax mandate through OSHA. The answer to abortion: you have to let the people vote out like they just did in Kansas. Even though that question was worded very strangely and terribly, what he did by signing this was add fuel to the fire. Don't add fuel to the fire by using tax dollars to fund these things. A quick side note, Biden has already signed 95 executive orders, and he's on pace to sign around 260 by term's end. Our boy Trump signed a total of 220. In my opinion, both men signed too many. You might be wondering, who is the king of executive orders? I was curious too, so I looked it up. The king of executive orders is none other than FDR, a Democrat who signed 3,721. Second place goes to Woodrow Wilson, also a Democrat, who signed 1,803. Now, before we dive into my first poll experience, by poll I mean election poll, not some Chippendales thing, I have to share a truth posted by Trump on July 31st, and I think this might be the first truth we ever shared on the show. So we might share more just so we can, maybe we'll call it like Keeping Up with the Don or Donnie's Corner, I don't know. On July 31st, Donald Trump said Joe Biden's second bout of COVID, sometimes referred to as the China virus, was sadly misdiagnosed by his doctors. He instead has dementia, but is happily recovering well. Joe is thinking of moving part-time to one of those beautiful Wisconsin nursing homes, where almost 100% of the residents miraculously and for the first time in history had the strength and energy to vote. Even if those votes were cast illegally. Get well soon, Joe. Holy shit. The first time I read this, I thought of that scene from Friday where they were like, "Damn!" Don't worry, folks. Joe Biden will be okay. His COVID is what they call a rebound COVID. Big Brother will tell you that it's very rare. Even though Fauci experienced the same exact thing. Both individuals are fully vaccinated, double boosted, and took Paxlovid. Maybe one more booster will slow the spread. All right, on to the poll, people. August 2nd, 2022. Ohio held a special primary election due to redistricting. Yours truly worked it, and I'm glad I did. The day started at 5:30 a.m. and lasted until 8 p.m. My job going into the morning was unknown. I was just an alternate. I signed up 2 weeks ago. There are 3 jobs in Ohio elections. The first one is called e-poll book. They're like the clerks. These people check your ID and look you up in the system. They make sure that you're registered to vote and voting at the right location. 2 very important things in a free and fair election. They then hand a receipt or a slip to the voter who walks over to the ballot judge. The ballot judge takes a look at the slip and checks the voter's party affiliation and district. They then hand the voter the correct ballot based on these 2 criteria. The final job is the machine judge. These judges are in charge of opening, closing, and troubleshooting the vote counting machines. There are a lot of rules and regulations they must follow. About 5 different seals go on the machines at the end of the night. All must be documented to ensure election integrity. Something that apparently is not happening in Arizona. Each position has other odds and ends that go into them and some one-offs, but that's just the basic overview. Since I was an alternate, I was told to report to the elections office at 6 a.m. and wait for my assignment. If not assigned by 9 a.m., I would be sent home with a cool $100 bill in hand versus the $180 for the full day. My assignment didn't take long. They said people always call off. Don't you worry, young buck. By 7 a.m., I was assigned to my local precinct, which was awesome. It meant I would get face-to-face with my local community. Also, I could go home for my hour lunch. Fantastic. See my wife, see my dogs, see my pigs. Although prior to leaving the election office, something weird happened. Sitting in that small hallway waiting for our assignment, conversation naturally started and I heard the most unnatural thing. This person said out loud that the unvaccinated have an 85% chance of dying if they catch COVID. I accidentally said out loud, there's no way that's true. Not wanting to get into a heated debate at 6:15 in the morning, I let him share that he was a crazy leftist and went about drinking my coffee. Fast forward to the polling place, I finally get my assigned role, ballot judge. I was the judge of all ballots, baby, and a damn good one, I might add. I was able to catch some mistakes and have good conversations with people. Thanking each and every person, whether they were Republican or Democrat, thank you for voting and letting your voice be heard. There were some complaints, though. Karen came in asking for an independent primary ballot. One did not exist. Another man was pissed that Ohio did not send out information about each candidate and about what was actually on the ballot. To see this information, you have to go to the Board of Elections website. I understood his frustration, and soon learned that in some states, Montana being one of them, they actually mail out a booklet on all the candidates. The book states where they stand on certain issues, which, in my opinion, is a damn cool idea, as long as it doesn't become corrupt like the mainstream media. One man walked through to use the restroom, and an e-poll book worker asked him if he wanted to vote. Doing their job. He lashed out and said, "Why the F would I vote for any of these people? They are killing my people in the street. It's a waste of time and doesn't matter, they are all corrupt. Plus, I'm not from here, I'm from New Jersey." I said out loud, all you had to say was that you're from New Jersey. Have a nice day. And finally, one voter was upset that we weren't wearing masks. She cowered in the corner until the polling place was empty of all voters and yelled, "According to the CDC, our county is at the highest level for COVID infection. What is wrong with you people?" We were all kind of shocked and somewhat shook to hear this. I sat quiet and let the manager handle the situation. This person was actually going to vote and I didn't want to cause a scene. After she left, I got out my phone and went to the CD website to confirm. She wasn't lying. The county was considered red for COVID. The information she was missing is that the COVID health measures expired June of 2021 for Ohio. The CDC had no power here. All in all, it was slow, but honestly a fun experience. Only about 200 of the 3,000 eligible voters in the area came out. Overall turnout for the state of Ohio was about 3%. 3% of the eligible voters. I don't blame them, though. There was no opposition on the Democrat ballot, and the Republican ballot only had one real race. This was valuable experience for November, though, when the 2022 primary is due to take place. I'm excited to see all the faces and continue working these elections for many years to come. The stories and characters will definitely get better. What am I going to do with the money? I should receive my 180 smackaroos in 2 to 3 weeks and I'll either buy some Rumble stock or a new knife. Now on to you probably shouldn't tweet it. Usually we showcase a tweet from either Joy Reid, AOC, Joe Biden, or someone like that, but not this time. It's time to showcase a true gem. That's the second chef's kiss in this show. A true gem of Twitter, Define L's. An account that shows an old tweet from someone and compares it to a new tweet showing off their hypocrisy. This one comes from Congressman Chuy Garcia, C-H-U-Y. I think that's Chewy. Chewy. We'll just say Chewy. This tweet was from May 13th, 2019, and he said, "Trump's attacks on Representative Rashida are wrong, divisive, and dangerous. Just another attempt to turn us against one another by name-calling and fear-mongering. We must stand together against all efforts to divide us." July 30th, 2022, Chewy Garcia said this: "You are borderline retarded, you fucking dipshit." Now, I wouldn't usually drop an F-bomb on the show, but it just really points out the hypocrisy of this person. And it proves that Chewy Garcia is a piece of crap. This is a typical leftist mindset right here. So if you see these kind of things where they're trying to act all moral and good, take a screenshot, save it, and then see how they talk a year from now. I bet you their message will flip. The only thing consistent about Democrats is their inconsistency. On to the TV ratings, brought to you by the one and only Road MN on Twitter. Our focus, as always, is going to be prime time. All right, this is from Tuesday, August 2nd, 2022, starting at the 8 o'clock position, with the homie Tucker Carlson getting 60% of the viewership, 3.1 million. Compare that to MSNBC's Chris Hayes, who had 20%, 1 million, and Anderson Cooper 360, who had 15%, 777,000. Not too lucky, Anderson Cooper. 9 p.m. slot Handy had 54% of the viewership, 2.6 million total viewers. MSNBC Prime, 1.3 million viewers, 28% of the viewership. And CNN Tonight should have went to bed, 13% of the viewership. The Ingram Angle, 48% of the viewership, 2.2 million viewers. The Last Word with L. O'Donnell, 30% of the viewership, 1.4 million viewers. And Don Lemon Tonight, 15% of the viewership, 720,000 viewers. These TV ratings are important. It's a weekly reminder that you are the majority. So don't be ashamed, don't be afraid to speak your mind, and tell one of your normie friends what's really going on out there. Post it on social media too. If you get banned, just come on over to Getter, Truth, or I think that's about it. There's others out there. Thank you so much for checking out today's show. If you enjoyed it, tell a friend. In fact, I think you and your hypothetical friend should give it a follow. New episodes every Thursday at 8 a.m. Eastern. We also upload one video a week to the Rumble account at The Morning Bean. This week, it was a video of my dogs. A 1-minute video, go ahead and check that out. Feel free to check out the socials, Getter or Twitter at Denny London. We can continue the conversation there. Anyways, thank you so much for listening. God bless and cue the music.